Well, good morning again. I'm still trying to figure out if this is weird or awesome, leaning towards weird. But the one thing I do know for sure is this kind of feels like family. And by family, I mean it's kind of weird and kind of awkward. Sorry, just mine? So in that heart, let me start with a couple of family updates for us. So this past week, I was working in my office and I heard on my roof, I'm like, oh my gosh, what is going on? We're being robbed. Like, there's nothing in here with robbing. It's fine. And I was like, why are there people up on the roof? Well, it turns out our building's about 20 years old, and the type of roof that was built, every 20 years you had to replace it, and we knew this, and so our church was planning and putting a few $1,000s a month every month to replace it. And then a few months ago, we went to actually go and replace it, again, using your generosity. And we found out that due to the pandemic and other things, the cost of this roof that we had saved over $120,000 for was 50% more than we were expecting. We're like, what are we going to do? And so we've been praying about it. We had a congregational meeting. We're talking about it. And then I get a phone call, and someone's like, can I meet with you? I'm like, oh, no. What's going on? There's another emergency. I said, yeah, what's going on? And the person came. They sat in my office, and they said, hey, Kyle, this morning when I woke up, I was praying. I was talking to Jesus, and Jesus said, hey, you should pay for the roof. And she's like, what? She's like, honestly, I heard God as clearly as I've ever heard God. But just to check, I went and talked to my partner. I'm like, hey, this is what I think God's calling us to do. And his partner said, yeah, let's do it. Amen. And so today we're standing under a roof that's being redone because of the generosity of someone who said, hey, we believe that every person who walks in here is made in God's image, whether they're a part of our church or whether they're part of our Saturday night turning this place into a homeless shelter for our neighbors, whether it's the school that rents this place, but every single person who walks in here is made in the image of God. And we believe that thousands of lives have been impacted in this room, but there's thousands more to go. So we're not celebrating that there was a big gift. We're not celebrating that there's a new roof. We're celebrating that God is continuing to provide to move the mission of Life Community Church forward through generosity of folks like you. And again, just to be clear, before we talk about, oh, no, it's one big gift. No, that's not what I'm just excited about. You see, last year in August, there was about 130 folks or families who financially contributed to the ministry. This year, it's about 150 folks and families, meaning lives are being changed. People are trusting God with their finances. And so many of you had your lives so changed that you said, I want others to experience the same thing. So through your generosity, through your time, your treasures, your talents, the ministry of Life Community Church continues to go through. So we can influence folks one at a time. Will you go ahead and give God some glory this morning? We are in a circle this morning, and I want to make the argument this morning that circles are better than rows. Even though the anxiety right here tells me otherwise, I actually know that the reality is different. Why? Because I know that science tells us that. So I'm like, what are you talking about? Well, you see, over the last, let's call it 5+ years, there's been a group in Harvard that's been studying the effects of people who gather in religious communities. Some things may or may not surprise you, that folks who gather regularly in religious communities, they live on average 4 years longer. They're 18% happier. And get this, after they've gone through something traumatic, everything from a divorce to a surgery, those folks who recover in community instead of isolation, they're found that those folks recover faster and more fully because they recover with people in community, with people who are praying for them. The studies show it. And some of you are like, well, Kyle, that's soft science. What does soft science have to do with anything? Let me try this. About 13 years ago, there was an experiment that was done, and it's been replicated through the last 13 years, where they would put EEGs on people's heads that essentially to measure the electromagnetic whatever going on in their head. I was a Bible major. I don't know how that works. And they'd measure it on their heads, and they realized that what happened is when people would come into a room, and there'd be two folks sitting there, and they're in a relationally connected state, what happened in one person's brainwaves would then be mirrored and reflected. The same thing would happen in the person next to them. Someone would get maybe shocked right here, and even the person next to them may not feel it, but their brain fires the exact same way. Again, the first time this happened, it was in 2010. It was a study of 4 Italians who were playing cards together. Imagine the Italian version of bridge. You've got these 2 teams, 2 folks together, and when they listened to the electromagnetic waves or scanned them, what they found is the people who were on the same team had similar matching brain waves. And those on the other team also matched each other, but were opposite of one another. Some of you are like, that's crazy. When I'm sitting here telling you, what I'm telling you is that if you're engaged, the people next to you, they're impacting your brainwaves. Just saying, you might want to think about who you sit next to at church. Well, Kyle, that seems crazy. How does that even make sense? And why and how? And it's mysterious. And scientists are still trying to figure out how and why it works. They don't know why it works. It's a mystery. But you know what? I'm okay with mystery. Why? Because I think there's mystery in science and there's mystery in faith. You see, in faith, we have this mystery that we believe that God is what we would call Trinity or triune, meaning there's one God in 3 persons. And some of you are like, well, how does that work? We've been trying to explain it for 2,000 years and we've been struggling. There's 2 diagrams that I want to show you. One is, if you look up here, there's this Western vision. It's 3 circles with God in the middle, and I think my diagram is going to come up. What we say is, there's one God in 3 persons, Father, Son, Spirit. But the Father is not the Spirit is not the Son is not the Father, but they're all God. And how does that work? How it works, I'm not sure, but here's what I do know. I know that the God of the universe lives and exists in community with his own self, with God's own self. And the one who created you in his image, in his likeness, made you the exact same way that you are connected to other folks. You see, what I just showed you was how, what I'm going to call the Western, more scientific approach to the Trinity. But our brothers and sisters in the Eastern, the more mystical part of the church, they describe God like this, not in a diagram, but in a picture. This picture represents what people will call the perichoresis. Perichoresis is a Latin term. Choresis, again, think choreography. It means to dance. Peri is around, so this idea of dancing around. And their understanding of God is that the Father, Son, and Spirit are in this beautiful love dance where they're dancing so intimately, so connected that there's so much life-giving love between the 2 of them, and in such a pace that you can't tell where one begins and one ends. It's almost like there's this beautiful tornado, and in that there's this giving and receiving of life, love, and relationship. Why? Because if God lives in community, if God lives in a circle, maybe you should too. Well, Kyle, what would that mean? What does that actually look like? If we were going to talk about what it means and looks like to be in community, how and why? Okay, I get it. My life's better. I get that. Thank you, Harvard. I get it that I'm connected to people. They're having a bigger impact on me and I them than I realized. I get that. Okay, you've given me this mysterious kind of bizarro language about God being in community. So what? What does that actually mean? Let's get practical for a second. There's a guy named the Apostle Paul. He's written 13 letters, or sometimes called books of the New Testament. And he writes to this church in Corinth, and he says this about their relationships, encouraging the types of relationships they want to have. Because relationships are highly impactful, he says this in 2 Corinthians. You'll see it on the screen. It says this, "Do not be yoked together with unbelievers. For what do righteous and wickedness have in common? What fellowship can light have with darkness?" Pause. Now, when I say don't be yoked together with unbelievers, some of you are like, what are you talking about being yoked? Like some of you look at me, you think it's that kind of yoked. Oh, I know. You look at this, it's the first thing you come to. I don't know. Some of you, like me, you were making breakfast this morning, you were scrambling eggs. That kind of yoke? Maybe. Definitely not. When Paul says don't be yoked together, what he's doing is giving an agrarian metaphor of 2 oxen on a yoke. Let me see this. This, my friends, is an oxen yoke. And some of you are like, you're just bringing out all the weird in one service. Hey, we're just getting started. What does that mean to be yoked with somebody else, or unequally yoked. What does that mean? To help me illustrate this, because I got a weak back, I need two dudes with some strong backs. Ladies, I'm not saying you don't have a strong back, but it's just going to be weird if I get this close to you in this metaphor, and in 3 minutes you're like, I'm glad it wasn't sexism, it was just common sense. So, any dudes want to come on up? All right, Vic, here we go. All right, come on. Vic, give this guy a round of applause. Here we go. We need one guy roughly his size. Otherwise, he's got to do this himself. He's got to hold this. All right, you need somebody else. Here's what's going to happen. Someone, point to someone. His wife just pointed him out and had him go. All right, you need a partner in crime. Yo, here we go, my man right here. I was like, come on, here we go. So, now, this is the idea we got here. So, now in this yoke, what happens is, Vic, you're going to put your neck right underneath this part. Here we go. And you are going to put yours right here. Here we go. All right, here we go. So now, if there are oxen and I'm their master, what happened is they are connected for a purpose, and they are meant to go in a straight line. They're meant to do something that has a purpose, i.e., maybe breaking up the ground, planting seed. And when they work together, it's easier. But now, Paul has this idea. He says, what if they are unequally yoked, meaning one is following Jesus and one is not? What if they're going in the opposite direction? What I need you to do, my man, all right, Vic, you stay right there. All right, what I just need you to just turn right here, turn towards me. All right, now, this is his idea of what it means to be unequally yoked. Now, what I want y'all to do is just walk forward like you're plowing or something like that. And just how does it go for you? Keep going. I can do this all day, guys. No, I can do this all day. I love this. You see, they're going opposite directions. Now, they're connected, yes, but one is like, hey, I'm trying to follow Jesus, and every time I get there, keep walking. We got good insurance policy, don't worry. And in this, sorry, now I'm wondering, am I liable for this? Is it church policy? Sorry. Questions y'all never have to worry about because we got to take care of. So this is the idea of being unequally yoked, is that the two of them are going opposite directions. And this is what happens when Jesus says that when those who are most closely connected to you are going in opposite directions, it's going to be as though you're going around and around and around. And some of you have experienced this in someone you're dating, married to, business partners. And in this, you're we're not getting anywhere. Why? Because we see things completely and totally differently. You see, friends, we're going to save that one for next week. Let's stay here for a minute. Next week's good. You don't want to miss it. So now, let's just imagine that they're actually decided, no, we actually do want to go the same direction. All right, turn back around again. Here we go. All right, now what I want you all to do is back up as far as you can go back there without falling off. Like I said, I don't want any sort of medical. Just a half a step more. Here we go. Now, so now you're like, no, look, we're both got the same vision, same values, same directions. We're partnered. We're on mission together. But what I want you to do is I want you to take one step, and I want you to take 2 steps. And I just want you to continue to walk and just see how it goes. So first, 1 step, and then 2 steps. Here we go. No. You got 2 more. Here we go. And now 1 and 2. Here we go. Keep going. No. See, here you go. You can't not do it. Here, come back. Y'all didn't do that right. Come here. Let's try this again. Here we go. All right, here we go. When I put my hand on your back, you're going to do 1 and you're going to do 2. Ready? Y'all keep taking 2 steps. Dude, come on. Is he this bad at home? He don't listen? Shoot, imagine trying to get this dude to fold laundry. My goodness. 1 step. 2 steps. Shoot, I did not plan on this going this way. All right, 1 more time, 1 step. That's a big step, dude, 2 steps, here we go. Okay, here we go. What you start to see is, if we were on a bigger stage, what you start to see is you realize they're allegedly going the same way. Same purpose, connected to each other, but one of them is going at a different pace than the other. And now they're just frustrated. Why? Because their pastor's a knucklehead and the other person's not going the right pace. You've been in that type of relationship? Well, it seems like we've got the same purpose, but one person is in a greater hurry to get there, the other one is slower to get there. Every time I'm on a casual stroll with my wife, I'm like, slow down, babe. Why are you trying to get away from me? I'm just chilling through life. And she's like, we've got kids and things to do and places to go. And I'm like, just relax. Because of all those things, I want to walk slower so we don't have to get to them. And then we start to frustrate each other. You see, I think sometimes we're in relationships with folks and we don't have the same amount of pace. Or let me say it this way. Sometimes what happens is you think you're in relationship with each other, but what happens is someone's sitting there and they're not really carrying their weight. They're like, just a little bit, just a little bit. But, let's let down just a little bit because he's strong, he's got it. And now let's just see how we can walk around the stage. Let's see how we can do this here. Now, yeah, look at it. He's like, this is wonderful. Yeah. Your partner in crime is like, I don't know how I feel about this anymore. And in this, you say, well, we're both doing our own part, but we're not. You see, friends, but now put it back on the way it's supposed to be done. Back up right here to me. Now what happens is when you're like, okay, I get it. We're each carrying our own weight. I get that the master has a plan and we're going to go straight here. Why? Because there's hard soil that needs to be broken up or there's things that need to be planted and I can't do it without you. I've got each of you to do it. And what I want you to do is I want to teach you to go and take a step together and continue to stay in alignment towards the mission that God has given you. In that is when it works. And that's why being unequally yoked, going different directions, different speeds, different amounts of weights, doesn't work. It just frustrates. While they're up here, just a little aside, next week, we're going to start a relationship series. We're going to bring the yoke back again, and we're going to talk about what this looks like again in more details, both about dating, single, marriage, all that kind of stuff. We're going to talk about all sorts of relationships. We'll get there next week. You don't want to miss it. But this is the picture that Scripture gives us. Give these folks a round of applause. And if you're a chiropractor, give them your card. You see, the thing is here, when we look at this, when we're able to say, you know what, I believe that Jesus has given me a purpose and something to go after, what you realize is you can't do it alone. That's why I'm setting it down. And this idea of not being able to do it alone, I want to give you a picture of what it could look like if you were able to say, okay, I think I know who my master is. I think I know I want to live this journey, but I don't want to do it alone. Can I get some of my small group leaders to come on up here? What I'm going to do is I'm going to have them share their stories about what it's looked like in our small groups for folks to get yoked together. Oh, that's a good joke. Here we go. All right, come on up here. Here we go. They feel just as awkward as I do. So here we go. Scott, you're going to go first. Tell me about how your group started, how long you've been together, and how has your small group been yoked together? How has it impacted your life, Scott?
Well, we moved here in 1996 from the Bay Area and went to Bayside Service, the first one in Green Hill School. And the second week, Pastor Ray says, you need to join a small group. So we did. We did that. We belonged to two different groups. And then in around 2000, 2001, we were adding some new small groups, and Kathy and I decided that we would host one, just host.
Yeah.
And so some of you in the service here may know Dave Wertheim. Dave's a very charismatic, great Bible teacher, and so he was going to be the leader. And so because so many people joined, we couldn't have a small group when we had 20 people. So he said, let's divide into two groups. And Scott, by the way, you're going to do the other 10, and I'm going to do 10. So let me see. Dave Wertheim or me? God had his hand in it. 10 people volunteered, went with me. We had and through that, I was able to grow. We then came here, started a group, and with Chuck. Chuck started it, and we had about 10 in it, and Chuck was in the leading. And very first night, he said, Scott, you're going to be the leader. Like, you're my lead pastor, and I have to lead you in the small group? Yeah. So then, shortly after that, we started our own with Don and Josie Shreve. And for those of you who don't know anything about where Don and Josie Shreve live, they live in the most idyllic place ever. They live over on a ranch over here, 250 acres that they've raised their 5 kids. And Don's been a cowboy for 45 years, and it's just a great little spot to meet. And they host, and our group's been meeting for 16 years now. And I can't imagine what it would be like. What would I do on Tuesday night if I didn't go there? And so it's just been, we've had laughs, tears. We've had some people leave because they've left, but we've had some leave because they joined the Lord. Yeah. And what a great way to do life together.
16 years. I love it. I love it. I love it. So now, Winnie, here you go. You busy. You are running your own business, helping your husband run a business. He's got a full-time job. You've got a bunch of kids. How in the heck do you have time for it, and why do you make time to be in or lead a group?
Having a community is really important to me, and it's really important to my husband too. And so being part of MOPS is like my lifeline.
For those who don't know what MOPS is.
Oh, sorry, Moms of Preschoolers. Mm-hmm. It's the mom group here at church. And it's like my lifeline to having a community here. And as being a mom, as you all know, our lives are so busy. And it's a scheduled time where we can come together and we can learn about the Lord and learn from each other and learn from our amazing mentor moms and just have breakfast and coffee. And I desire it. Like, I have to have it. And if I didn't have them, I would be missing out on such a great community of women.
It's interesting as you say that. It reminds me of when you're on an airplane and the flight attendant's like, in case of a loss of cabin pressure, like, loss of what? Oxygen mask will come down and put yours on before you help your kids. And every mom is like, you're not a parent. You don't know what it's like. But I think for you to say, hey, in the busyness, in the chaos, I've got to take a moment to say, I need to be connected to God, to his people, and have a moment where I realize I'm not alone in all that. I love that.
Yep.
Now, Francois, when you were thinking about starting a small group, you were asked to join a small group. You said, I'm not going to do it, but for some reason you've done it, which I still don't really know why you changed your mind. But the other thing that I don't understand is every dude I talk to who's gone to your Monday night group comes to me with some sort of story about how their life has been changed. What the heck is going on?
Well, first, I think I'm pretty much like most of you here, except that 20% Kyle's talking about that are crazy. And the fact that if I don't have to take responsibility, I won't. I'll kind of just chill and be in the background because I don't want to take the glory away from God, but I also made a commitment to God saying that whatever you have me do, whatever you ask, I'll do it. And so a guy around here, I'm pretty sure many of you know, named Kurt Blythe, he was one of the first people I met coming here. And, you know, he saw something in me and I believed in what he saw in me, and so he said, hey, I went to his small group at first, and I was like, okay, cool, that's cool for you, and he told me how many years he'd been doing that, like, good, you've got experience, knowledge, and all that, and I was like, I have none. He said, yeah, but would you lead one? I was like, in my heart, I was like, no, I won't, but I found myself saying yes because I knew my commitment I made to God. So from there on, we started our small group with these gentlemen, and I just believe that when you are obedient to God, the greatest treasures come into your life. Many of us are like, hey, I don't want the responsibility. I don't want to commit. I don't want to do this. And that's fine. That's your choice. But you don't realize what you miss out on. And for me, the guys that I've come to know over the last year, it's been an amazing transformation that I see in their lives because in all of us as men, one, we definitely need accountability. But a man needs to look to you in your eyes and say, hey, you're not measuring up. Because we beat ourselves up, but we fail to remember that it takes that community to encourage you, to sharpen you, to help you to see the vision that Kurt kind of saw in me. All the guys that come in, I said, at some point, you're going to lead your own small group. But this is the building blocks. This is the community you need to get what you need, and so that you know that, hey, you're not all bad. No, there's greatness in you, but it needs to be tapped into, and you need men around you to encourage you. So that's what happened to me. I still say no to this day. I'm at my house, Monday night's approaching, and I'm like, no. But then I'm like, nah, I got to go because God has a purpose in it for all of us. And I just see him moving and shaping over the past year, and it's been amazing. And what he's done in the lives of me and in my leadership qualities, I hope they will attest to improvement there.
Oh, they're telling me, yeah.
So, but yeah, what you're saying, I just appreciate it because sometimes I think you lead or are a part of something and you don't see it because my focus is not on seeing me be glorified. Yeah. I look at them, and so that's really where I get my encouragement. Man, he's changing, and I just got the glory. So hopefully I answered that.
That's awesome. I love what you're talking about. I think so many folks, especially men, have the shame of, I'm not this, I'm not that. Yeah, give them some love. But for you to call people out and call them to that standard is awesome. Now, John, you got a different type of group. You're going to be leading Financial Peace University, which is helping folks with biblical principles, managing their finances. What got you in it in the first place, and what does the experience for people who've gone through it before look like?
Well, one of the things that got me in is the equally yoking, with my wife being able to sit down and come up with a game plan that both of us agreed to, both of us could follow.
Wait, there's husbands and wives that don't agree on money?
I
I've
know.
never
It's
heard
amazing.
of that. Wow.
There's a couple
wow.
others, but yes.
Sorry, go on.
So anyhow, in the spring of 2019, I led a FPU class, and we had 8 households in it. In the 9 weeks, they paid off a combined $134,000 in debt.
Come on, baby.
I have to say 2 things to that. As they say, previous results do not guarantee future returns. And also, for those of you that aren't familiar with Financial Peace University, it is not a get-rich-quick scheme. It is a roll up your sleeves and dive in and tackle it hard. And I know some of you are facing debts starting October 1st. They're called student loans. I know that's a bad word to say anywhere, actually. So, like I say, we'll be starting that class, and if you want to get together with other people and learn about how to manage money, we'll go through the 7 baby steps, and it's a Monday nights. Sorry, Monday nights. So yes.
Love it. Give some of our small group leaders a round of applause here. Woo. Some of you hear this, you're like, I think that's me. You know, you're like, oh my gosh, you're a crazy busy mom. I got that. Or maybe you're an empty nester trying to figure out what the next stage of life is. Some of you are like, oh my, I got debt. Or maybe I got no debt, but I got no financial plan. How would I do that with other folks? There's a group for everybody. And some of you know what your group is. But let me just speak to those of you like, I don't know what my group is or what it would be, or I think I'm good without it. For those of you there, let me just ask you this question. If you tomorrow had the greatest miracle, breakthrough, victory of your life, in your own personal life, financially, relationally, who could you go to and tell about how good it is, and they do nothing but celebrate with you and not be jealous or compare or do anything, but they would do nothing but like, woo, we love you. We don't love you anymore. We don't love you any less, but in the best, they're there for you. Who's that person for you? But more importantly, let me ask you this. If tomorrow you were to make the greatest mistake of your life, you were going to get let go from a job that was your identity, your marriage didn't go right, you got a call from a doctor, that thing that you thought no one would ever find out got found out, who could you go to and say, this is what happened, and they won't love you any more or any less? But they'll just look at you and say, you and me, we're all made beautiful and broken in God's image. I'm here for you. I don't judge you or condemn you, but I also want what's best for you. And today I will comfort you. Tomorrow I will pray for you. And when the right time comes, I'm going to help you change and transform and become that person that God wants you to be. Do you have that person in your life? Maybe it's for the highs, maybe it's for the lows, maybe it's because you've got a vision for your life and you're like, I don't know how to get there. And either you don't try because you don't know how to get there, or you've tried and not gotten there and you're just going around in circles like some of these folks were doing earlier and you don't know how to get there. Let me just ask you this. Do you have someone in your life that you can go to and says, hey, I've got a problem. Can you give me wisdom on this? Because you've been there, done that, and you're wiser than I am. And I look up to you. I see the way that you live your life, your family, your finances, your faith, all of these things. And I want my life to look a little bit more like yours, and I don't know how to get there. Do you got that person in your life? I was thinking about that this morning, and back in the day, there was this, I think it was a T-Mobile commercial that talked about your Fab Five. Now, this is going to blow half your minds. Now, back in the day, they used to charge you by the minute and by the text message on cell phones. Some of you are like, some of you are calculating, oh my gosh, how expensive would my bill be? Your parents have done the math. Now, and back in the day, you got charged for it, but they said it's your Fab Five. You can call them, text them anytime, anywhere, and you wouldn't be charged extra for it. So let me just say this the last way. Who's in your Fab Five? Who celebrates with you? Who struggles with you? Who gives you wisdom? Who's like, I don't know, but we're doing this together? Or that person who you don't know you need them until you do. Because I hope that whatever the highs or lows may be, you have people who are yoked up with you who say, this may be hard, but we'll do it together. We're shoulder to shoulder. I'm no better or no worse, and we do this together. This, friends, is why we believe that church is better. Life is better. Your life is better in circles instead of rows. See, it may be awkward looking over at someone else. Like, are they looking at me? Are they looking at Kyle? What am I supposed to do? Do I smile? Do I not? And in that awkwardness, what I want to tell you is that person across the room might be part of your Fab Five a year from now. Or maybe like Scott, 15 years from now. Or maybe you're here, like, I'm so busy I can't do it, but you realize, oh my gosh, if there's other busy folks who are making time, maybe I can do it too. You see, this idea of being equally yoked, about being on mission and connected and supporting each other, it's only my second favorite passage, about yokes. You see, in Matthew chapter 11, Jesus looks at his disciples and says, hey, my burden is easy and my yoke is light. He says this, he says, come to you all who are tired, who are beat up, those of you who have religion shoved down your throat and it has not transformed you. Those of you who have followed all the rules and gotten nowhere and you just feel like there's this weight of religion hanging over you, come to me. He says, what? My burden is easy and my yoke is light. You see, friends, some of you are like, I'm so busy, I can't do it. Some are like, I'm so ashamed, I can't do it. Some are like, I don't even know what I need. But let me just tell you, friends, what I want to offer you this morning, what Jesus offers you is an invitation for you to say, I am his and he is mine. And it is light. Why? Because he's the one who carries the weight. He's the one that carried the cross to Calvary, and he is the one who carries you. And it's light. Why? Because right now you've been doing it alone, and imagine how freeing it is to do with somebody else. Some are like, it just seems so much more difficult. No. When you're wandering around in circles with the wrong type of people, that is more exhausting. Why? Because there's no end, there's no finish line, and in that moment, you just feel like you're wandering in circles alone. But in that moment where you realize, no, my primary strength comes from Jesus. He's given me people to partner with. In that moment, you say, no. His burden is easy and his yoke is light. So friends, how is God inviting you to look across the room and find yourself in circles versus rows? Some of you know that there's some spiritual things there. Like, I don't want people to know me. Some of you are like, no, there's some spiritual things. I've been hurt by people before and I don't want that. Some of you are like, oh my gosh, my life is so busy, I can't do it. And in that moment, remember, the thing that's holding you back might be the thing that Jesus wants to transform in you. And you may not be able to do it alone. You may not be able to do it in a row, but you can do it with God's help and when you're connected to his people, because that's how life change happens. One at a time in intentionally loving relationships. Friends, you are invited. Let's pray. God, I thank you for every single person you've put here. I thank you for folks who are crazy enough to come up to the stage when I don't know what I'm doing. I thank you for all the mixed feelings you've given us of joy and pain that comes from relationships. So Lord, this morning I pray that you would clarify the next step. To send a text message to someone saying, I know I need to lean in, but I'm afraid. For folks to go to the small group table out in the lobby and say, no, I'm in. 10 weeks, I can do it, I'm in. Maybe for folks who realize that the real problem isn't the thing that they're telling themselves, but there's something inside of them that makes them ashamed to be known and seen and loved. And God, in this process, let your people be the light that shines on their darkness and rids them of their shame. Give them the courage to take the step even when they are afraid to do it. God, thank you so much for putting your yoke on us. And thank you for reminding us that it's light. And when it's not, it's often because we are carrying more of the weight than you've called us to weight. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.